Hey everybody, this is Ashley with Publish with Ashley, and I'm so excited to be here with you. I know I've been doing a lot of interviews lately, and I have another one for you with Cindy Minear, and she's from Aududu.com, and she has some great tools. And if you're not in her Facebook group, you should be, and you should be on her website because she's got some great free stuff and great resources that are paid. So all that will be in the show notes. But our topic today is she's gonna help tell us her story and tell us a little bit about tips to help your books sell better. And I know that's like, you always are like, oh, I have this book and it's not selling. Well, Cindy is here to give you some great tips on how to help your books sell better. So Cindy, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody, say hi, tell a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the meat, what everyone wants to hear about.
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for having me here on your show. For those who don't know me, I'm Cindy Minear. I am the owner of Aududu Book Creator, which is at Aududu.com. I also run the Strategies for Profitable Low Content Book Facebook group, where we share lots of strategies to help you create books that will sell.
Yes, you guys are great. I've taken some of your classes that I've done them before. The one was like before Christmas in November timeframe. It was so great. It gave me some great ideas. You do some great stuff.
Thanks, Ashley.
So how did you get started? Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, I was just saying, do you want to hear how I got into KDP?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to ask. Tell me how you got into KDP. I love hearing everyone's stories because we all came from so different places, but here we are.
I know. It's crazy. Everyone has a different story about how they got started creating books on KDP. My story actually goes all the way back to 2002. I originally started off as a software engineer. I spent 13 years working on the International Space Station program at Boeing. And then in 2002, I became pregnant with very high-risk twins. They're monoamniotic twins, which means they're in the same amniotic sac and their cords get knotted all together. So it was so high risk and so stressful that I decided to retire from my job there in Boeing and stay home with my kids. I already had 3 older kids at the time. And everything turned out great. My twins are healthy, 18-year-olds now.
Good.
But when they were about a year or 2 old, I was looking for something else to do. And I came up with the idea of scrapbooking products for twins because I was an avid scrapbooker at the time, and there was virtually no products for twins.
Right.
So that kind of led me into discovering the print-on-demand market with T-shirts and mugs back when Cafe Press was brand new. And then I ended up getting recruited onto Zazzle. They recruited me to move my store over to their platform. And eventually I discovered Merch by Amazon and got a merch account. And then through those Facebook groups, I learned about KDP.
Oh, so you went the total print on demand and then to books. Yeah.
Yes, totally. So I kind of went all these different ways. But anyway, so I started, I was in all the Facebook groups learning everything I could about KDP. And back then, I was like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not sure exactly the date I started on KDP. But back then, people were telling you to take your merch designs, slap them on a cover, do a lined journal, and you're going to become rich. And I'm sure you can imagine how well that went.
Yeah, well, and it's funny too because I was from KDP and I went to merch and I found that, some of my designs look really cute as notebooks. And so I was doing that and I was telling people in merch and they're like, oh, you're stupid. You're only going to make $2. But I was kind of early in that. And so I did okay. But I didn't do everything. Like it wasn't all my covers. It was the ones that I thought would work.
Right. And it turns out the lined journal, plain notebooks, it's pretty saturated and you're going to have a really hard time. So one tip, don't do that. Don't waste your time there. Focus on quality over quantity. You could start with one of those.
Yeah. Start with a few.
To get the process down, but don't do 100 or 1,000 of those.
I would say at least 10 because I think that process of uploading and making a cover and it's difficult. And if you do something easy to start with, but that's a learning. Think of it like learning,
it's
not
a learning
money.
Curve. Yes.
Right.
That's a learning. And don't expect to make a bunch of money off of those books because you're not going to. So after doing that and having, mostly crickets and hardly any sales, maybe one here or there, I'm like, okay, let's try something different. So I went back to my twin mom niche, which I know a lot about since I am a twin mom, and started creating some very highly specific interiors. And I was using PowerPoint at the time and started uploading those books, and those started doing well. So I'm like, okay, I think I've got an idea of how to do this. But during that process, I discovered that, well, I don't like cutting and pasting my page 100 times. So I created, I'm like, well, I can write software to do this, and I won't have to do this all the time. So I wrote a little software routine that took a one-page JPEG and blew it out to however many pages you want in a PDF to make it easier for me to create my books for KDP.
Right.
And then I started adding, I added one that would do lines and dots, the dot grids and graph paper. And then I'm like, maybe I should turn this into a website. So that's how Aududu got started. Is I took these tools that I had originally made for myself and created the Aududu Book Creator website. And then I've just been adding to it over time. So now we have puzzle tools and journal tools and cover tools and just all kinds of stuff. I especially like to hear what people want me to put up. So I'm always getting inputs from people. I have this Trello board with all these different ideas and of new tools and upgrades to the current tools I have. So I'm just constantly upgrading it and working on stuff. Right now I'm working on, we have a ledger tool that will let you create sort of like table type things.
Oh, okay.
With a title, and you can have titles on your columns and your rows and stuff like that. I'm adding color to it for the printable market, because I think that's becoming more and more popular. People want to be able to create printables. So right now, all my tools are mainly grayscale. So this will be the first one I'm adding in color, so you can select whether you want to do grayscale or color.
That's amazing. That's really useful. A lot aren't doing that yet. So that's a really great way to go.
I will be adding that to all my other tools as I have time.
It's a process.
It is a process. It's a process. So you got to start with one, and then you can move on to other ones. And I also want to add into my line journal and dot grid tool, be able to do prompts. We have a list of prompts, and it'll throw them on all the different pages, things like that. So in the near term, those are a couple of the enhancements I have coming out. So when I go to add the color, I'll add the prompt thing to it as well.
Awesome. And that's actually two things about your story I want to point out to everybody. Is everyone's always asking, what should I do? What niches? They're always wanting you to tell them what's successful. But I want to point out something in your story that's similar to my story. Where I found my success is something I knew. You said your twin niche, and then you write software. So you created something for yourself to use, and then, helped others. So I'm always saying, everyone wants to know what's the hot niche. And I said, it doesn't matter what the hot niche is. You need to do what you know, because you can do that very well and really help people. And that is the way to really be successful, I think, in KDP.
That is so true. I 100% agree. I'm always telling people, start with what you know, or start with something that you really want to learn about, that you're really interested in. And because I get a lot of people like, I don't know anything. I'm like, yes, you do. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your hobbies. Tell me about your sports. Tell me about challenges you've overcome. Everyone is an expert in something. And if you sit down and really think about it, you're going to find out what is the one thing that you're passionate in life about, and turn that into your business and do your business around that. Yeah, I really do. I get tired of the people that are constantly on the hot niche treadmill. I gotta find this one and the next one. And I'm like, please get off the treadmill. Find something you can be passionate about and build a real business around that, because that's where you're going to be successful.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize that too, because I did the throw the spaghetti at the wall, and I was all over. And I had like a list of things that I thought I was good at, and I didn't do any of them. And then it was so funny. I came back one day and said, I'm going to make a gift for in this niche for people I know. It was meant as a gift. It was not meant as something to actually sell. And it took off like crazy. And and it just took myself thinking about it differently to realize I could add value to that niche. And so I think that's what we're always like, oh, I can't contribute because I'm not the expert. You are.
You can become the expert. Yeah. Especially if you're in the niche, you are the expert.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, I think people maybe got to step back and then have even somebody else, maybe it's technique for you guys to have somebody ask you. So somebody you trust, you're going to give away their niches, and you tell them all the things you're good at, and then have them give you ideas, because you're too close to the problem, I think, sometimes, but they can give you ideas that you're like, oh, you're right. Why didn't I see that? So that's
totally. Because sometimes I'll talk to some people who are like, I don't know what to do, and I'll like, well, tell me about yourself, and then I'll go, well, this is your niche. This is what you should be creating for. Somebody was telling me that they had gotten a bunch of different properties, and they're learning about how to manage the properties and everything that goes along with that, and I'm like, bingo, there you go. You know all about that. You could totally create books to help people who own properties manage everything that goes along with that. I know nothing about it, but you know everything about it. So that's the niche you should start creating for. And they're like a light bulb, like, oh yeah, I guess I do know all about that. That is something I could do.
But they just don't think of it that way. So
they don't.
You guys who think you don't know anything, I am 100% positive you know something, and you can be at least an expert enough to teach someone who doesn't know anything, right? Like if someone who doesn't know anything, they're going to be like, oh, you're a master, right? So I encourage you guys to look inside yourself a little bit more. All right. So tips for helping your book sell. So say you've got that niche. Now, how do we sell it?
Okay. Well, first of all, you need to make sure you actually identified your target audience. You know who it is that's supposed to buy this book.
Very important.
I see a lot of times people doing this upside down, where they've created this great book and now they're trying to go find an audience for it. So you really need to have in mind before you start creating the book, who is your target audience? And I recommend sitting down and creating what's known as a customer avatar. So you know exactly who the person is that's going to want to buy this book. Because once you know that, coming up with your keywords are going to be so much easier, so much easier. You need to know who it is the book is for and what purpose that book serves, which comes down to what pain points am I addressing in the book? What problems am I helping these people solve? What goals am I helping them achieve? And by focusing in on that, then you're going to have a much better idea of how to market the book, who the people are, how these people are going to use the book, what they're going to use the book for. And these are all the things that you're going to put in your keywords. You're going to put it in your description, because the first tagline in your description should be, are you this person having this problem? That this is the book for you.
Yeah, that's what I do all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Because those are the two things you need to know: who it is and why they should buy the book. And doing that and being able to point it out in your description, especially, so when people read it, they identify it and can say, yeah, I do have that problem. And oh, look, they had this problem and this is how they solved it. Oh, this is going to be the perfect book for me. So I'm going to go buy that book.
Yes.
That's the number one thing I think you need to do when you're
I agree.
That first tagline,
in the tagline, if they can answer yes to whatever, like, do you have a problem keeping your kids entertained during the day or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If they can answer yes, they're almost half sold, because they're like, yeah, definitely. I have that problem. And now you've almost sold them because they already said yes to your first question.
Yes.
Unless they're looking for something specific, but they've already answered like why they were searching for the book in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly. And make sure in your thumbnail version of your cover that when people search, because that's what they're going to see is those thumbnails, that you can identify immediately what your book is about and what your book is for. So make sure your title that they can read it. If it's how to keep your kids busy or how to keep your kids occupied while you're trying to work at home or something like that, make sure they can read that and they can see that. And that's going to be what makes them click on it originally in order to get to the first description.
Right. That's great. Yeah. And there was two things you brought up about your target audience. There's two ways to look at that keywords. There's the problem aspect. What pain point are you solving? And then the positive side. So flip that around to find the keywords that are, a solution versus a problem. And those are two sets of keywords that people search for the same product. And so that's a good way to find just a different angle at your keywords. That positive and then the negative side, like here's solving the problem and here's what the problem is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Do that. Another way to get your books sold to people is to start creating your own audience in that niche.
Mm-hmm.
Start your own Facebook group, start your own website, write some how-to ebooks that you can link to your paperback books to help gain more visibility into your pen name, the brand, whatever it is. That if you can collect people, get them to a website, get their email addresses, get them into a Facebook group that you can talk with them. And also the great thing about having people in a Facebook group is then you can find out really what it is they want in a book and what it is they need. And you can talk to them one-on-one and say, hey, do you want this? Would you like a 6x9 size or an 8x10 size? Which size book you think would be most useful for you? And you can do polls and things like that to really help you know how to create the perfect book for these people.
Yeah, and then if you're into merch and all the other things that KDP offer, or not KDP, but Amazon offers under its wings, you can say, hey, you guys want a t-shirt? Okay, sure, I'll create a t-shirt. Here you go, right? So having your own audience, cultivating them is a really fabulous way. So ebooks, let's talk a little bit about ebooks for those who are a little bit terrified, like I have to write a book. Like it doesn't have to be that complex, does it?
It doesn't have to be that long either. And you want to make them Kindle Unlimited for sure, because a lot of people have Kindle Unlimited membership and will only download books that are Kindle Unlimited books.
Yes, because they're paying, $10, $20 a month or whatever plan they're on. Yeah.
Right. So in the book, so you probably have already generated all the knowledge you need to write a little how to make candles, for example. So you've already done the research you needed in order to create your interior. So now take all that research and divide it up into a how-to book. You can have a section on the materials you need to buy, and by the way, also have a website with affiliate links if you're an Amazon affiliate that tells you exactly, say these are the recommended products that I use with your affiliate links, and link it from your ebook to your webpage, so that you can get extra income that way as well. But then it's as simple as you creating the one page that says, here's all the things you need to buy. Here's step-by-step how to do this. Here's some problems that I've encountered and how I've solved them. And it doesn't have to be a long book at all. It could be, it's just those 3 sections. And then at the end of the book, create a page with a link directly to your paperback book that's maybe a log that tracks all the different types of candles you've made, keeps track of the different types of wax, what kind of scents did I put in them, how did they burn, what did I think about it, did I give them to people, that kind of thing. And then people are going to download your book, see, oh, this person's an expert, I really like what they have to say, and then click on that and then go buy your paperback book. So it's another way to drive traffic to your books.
Yeah, and I want to point this out that everyone's always like, oh, what can I advertise and how can I advertise for free? This is free.
That's free.
This is free, and it's actually, you get paid. Like, if you're doing Kindle Unlimited, you'll get a little bit of money. But like if someone, let's say you even do it at 99 cents, your little ebook, right? Which is probably a fair price for a 10, 12 page book, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah, depends on how small it is.
Hey, space and pictures, guys. Remember space and pictures. It's
pictures, yes. Use pictures, lots of pictures.
You can use pictures, right? So it doesn't have to be quite as detailed, wordy as you think, but it's free. I mean, you even get paid to do it, and it advertises your book. And you can have a free Facebook page, a free Facebook group. All these things are free. And now your website might cost you a little bit, but you don't have to start there, right? You can start with just getting your email address from MailChimp or one of the other free, service
one of the
providers.
other people that'll let you have a landing page. I use MailerLite, which will let you have a landing page on their site, so you don't even really have to have a website if you don't want to. And then they increase the price based on how many subscribers. And I think it's free before you get to 1,000 subscribers, if I remember correctly.
And by 1,000 subscribers, you're probably doing okay enough to pay for it.
You should be. Yes, you should be able to pay for it.
Right. I would think so. So everyone's always like, oh, what's free? What's free? You're going to have to spend some time. And I think these are fabulous ways. And what it does is it creates that brand presence. You aren't a fly by night, and it takes time and effort, but you're building something instead of just throwing something out in the world and crossing your fingers and hoping it works.
Right. If you're serious about creating a business, you really need to be serious about creating a brand. And purchasing a website to go with the brand, purchasing your domain name, at the very least, get the domain name that goes along with your pen name. That's a must. You must have that. And then as you grow, definitely a website is very high priority, but the email list is the top priority, the very top thing that you should be doing to grow your business, because that's the thing you own. You don't own Facebook, you don't own Instagram, you own your own email list. Nobody can take that away from you.
Yep, you have all that. So like, I agree with you. And I know everyone's like, oh, I don't want to start there because I don't know what I'm doing. That's okay. Create notebooks, create interiors. And once you find what you do well with, or you like, or you enjoy, then you can focus and do all this. This doesn't need to be step one. So I don't want everyone to be scared. It can be like step 5 on your journey, and that's fine. But it is the way, I think, to really, truly make money, like serious money on KDP.
Yes. Definitely. If you're just throwing darts at niches and hoping something sticks, you're not building a business. It's a hobby. It's not a serious business. If it's your serious business, you need to look at your pin names and create brands around each one of them, and start with one till you really get the hang of it. And maybe you only need the one. I like to say what you focus on grows. So the more you focus on this one particular niche, and the more you focus on it, the more it's going to grow, and the more people you're going to attract to it, and the more books you're going to sell, the more product you're going to sell. And that's really how you're going to become successful in any business, actually.
Yeah. And I think it takes time. I want to give everyone a realistic view. I think this process does take time, but it is so worth. It's like a snowball. It's like a year, and it's like la, 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 la. And then it just starts to build and build and build. And you'll be shocked that if you just keep on, that it just suddenly, you're like, wait, where did this come from? And everyone's like, oh, overnight success. No, it wasn't an overnight
success. That's so very true. It is a snowball. So it starts off small, and it takes a long time to get that momentum going. But once you do, then it just sort of takes off on its own. In fact, I got a PM from somebody today on Facebook asking me, how can I quickly get a $5,000 a month income on KDP? And I said, honestly, you're not going to get it overnight. You can't. It takes work, just like anything else. It takes work and time and effort. And if somebody's promising you they're going to teach you how to do that to get $5,000 a month quickly and easily with very little effort, they're lying to you. They're just trying to get you to pay them for their
course, right? That's how they got $5,000.
That's how they're getting it. Yes, they want you to buy their extremely expensive, course, and they're going to get rich, and you're going to do all this, and you're like, well, I'm making $5 a month, not 5,000. So don't expect to be an overnight success, because it's not going to happen. No, but if you do put in the work and the effort, you can have a very successful $5,000 and up a month business doing this, for sure.
I think the people who really, really treat it like a business are gonna, and you just keep pushing, are gonna succeed. And I 100% believe that, because I think anything that you're willing to work, anybody who's willing to work for something and learn and grow and do all the things you need to build a brand and create a presence, you're gonna succeed. It just takes time and effort. And I want people to be realistic about this business, because it's fabulous, but it takes work.
It can be, and it can be a lot of fun too, and especially because there's so many different types of books you can make. Go find out which ones you like doing. Like I know somebody who's super into making coloring books. Like, that's not really my thing, but great for you. Go build a big business around that. Find out which type of book do you like making. I like to make the ledger type books that help people track stuff that they're doing and get them on their way to achieving goals. That's kind of the things that I like to do best. But everyone's different, and everyone has different interests and different talents, and go out there and figure out what it is that's your thing that you really like doing, and just build your business around that completely.
I think so too. I've been working with something, I'm an engineer, so I've been working with something that's paper. It's so wild. People are like, my husband, he was like, what are you doing? Like, he was like, had no idea what I was doing. And my kids are like, what are you doing, Mom? And then when I got it all done, they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But I used my engineering skills to create something that's really, it's really out there. It really is. And I'm hoping it'll do well. Maybe it's too out there. So that's my problem, marketing it, right? So that's what I've been really trying to figure out. How am I going to market this really weird creative idea? But I sat down and spent a lot of time thinking about this. So I think I can do it. And I think that's what other people need to do. What you have this cool product, who are you going to market it to, and how are you going to market it? And that's what will make it successful.
If you want to talk a little bit about ads, I've been playing around with them recently because I'm very conservative with my money, so I don't want to waste it.
Yes,
and I have found that by having a very small daily budget, I have mine set to $5 a day with a very small bid. I usually go around 30 cents each, and I use the keywords usually for the targeting of my ads. That by having an ad for just one book in a particular pin name, I don't know why this is, but it is increasing the sales for all the books that I have under that same pin name. So I've set up some ads that I just leave running all the time. I check in every so often to make sure I'm making more money on it than I'm spending, and adjust the keywords sometimes, find out which ones are being used more, clicked more, and things of that nature. But you can increase your sales by using ads, but you need to make sure that you know what you're doing and keep track of it. You don't spend more money than you're bringing in on your book, but it can definitely help get your book visibility. And from what I've seen, more visibility for your pin name as well.
Yeah, I'm cheaper than you. Well, I put a $10 a day budget, but I bid 10 cents. I'm a 10-cent builder. And I'm very, very, very focused in everything I do. And I run the numbers, I'm engineer, math, right? So I'm big on that. It takes time, but it is so profitable if you just, and it's about target market. I'm huge on target market. Know your target market.
All about your target market.
And think creatively with who you're advertising to. Like you were saying, you like to do the ledger stuff. Maybe you're doing a social media thing, but maybe like bloggers might be something you weren't thinking of as a target market, but might maybe an excellent, people who do blogging might want a social media planner or something like that. You know what I mean? Think a little outside sometimes to market to people who would be interested in your product, but it might be kind of, you didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, I like to talk about the concept of niche neighbors, because you take one thing and see who's adjacent to it that could also benefit from the thing you've already created. In some instances, in a lot of instances, you probably need to adjust it just a little bit to appeal more to them. Don't just take the same one directed to social media influencers and hope bloggers will buy it. Maybe redo the wording to be more specific to bloggers, for example. But that's easy. That's just changing verbiage.
That's changing titles or the topic or whatever.
Yeah, that's super, super easy to do. And then you just have a whole new book. And very little effort. You take it from this one niche and move it around and get it to a dozen different niches.
I love that with niche neighbors, because you could keep that under the same pen name, because it's not so far outside your pen name that people would be like, well, that's weird, right? They'd be like, oh yeah, they're kind of in a market like mine. Or maybe they know people and said, hey, I have this awesome book. You should check it out for yours. I saw a book similar for your niche or whatever. So
yeah, and that's a really good point. Don't make your pen name so super specific that that you can't put out like books for sort of neighboring niches. Make it a little bit broader so that you have more wiggle room to make a bunch of different types of books under that same one pen name, because you don't want to manage hundreds of pen names. I mean, who can keep up with that, right?
I have hundreds of pen names, but I don't manage them. I think I have 3 brands now that I'm focusing on, and that's more than enough. That
is more than enough. Yeah. By the brands you focus on, you have your Author Central, you have your website, you got your socials, and
freebie for email list, all that stuff, right? That's a lot.
All your lead magnets. That's a lot to do times 3. That is a lot to do.
But any other tips you've got for us all today?
Let's talk about adding value to your book in different ways that you can do that. A lot of people just take a template and just upload that without ever changing it.
Don't do that.
Please don't do that. You can change up the template by changing the words, of course, and the graphics and things of that nature. But what you can also do is add value with your front matter pages.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know what that is, that's like your title page, your copyright page, an introduction, how to use the book, FAQs, tips and tricks, that kind of thing. So you take all the knowledge that you learned when you're creating that book and put it in the front part to help other people use your book. So when they click on your look inside, they're going to see, oh, wow, this person knows what they're talking about. Look, they're telling me how to be successful in whatever it is this book is for. And that's also, they're going to be more likely to buy your book because they're going to already have faith that you're going to help them because you gave them this great information at the beginning of your book.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually last night, so I created a video of how to use the product and I demoed it and I did a QR code and I uploaded and created a whole YouTube channel to demonstrate how to create and use this product. And so, that's what I was doing last night, was creating a YouTube channel specific for this and, connecting it to my
great
website.
idea.
But then even if it's in the first pages, someone just flipping through could look and, you could see your product without even buying it, which everyone's like, that's bad, but they're seeing your brand. They're exposed to your brand. What better way to get them to be lifelong customers?
Exactly. And following through with your QR code idea, let's talk about back matter pages since you stick at the back of the book. You have a lead magnet you've created with a freebie to get their email and put a QR code there too. And then they can click on the QR code, pops up your lead magnet, and boom, you got them on your email list.
Yep.
So it's a really, really good way to collect email addresses from your books because, of course, Amazon doesn't tell you who buys them. So you can't go get that email from Amazon, but you do have ways to put things in your book to help you capture people's email addresses. Get them on your list, get them in your Facebook group, etc.
Right. I mean, and in some ways, Amazon, they encourage this as long as you do it within their rules, within their TOS, because they don't want you to steal their customers, but they understand that if you build a brand with them, then people are going to come back to Amazon and purchase the product. So it is a good relationship to have. Just, you've got to watch and read the TOS. So just do read that. Make sure you're not doing anything they don't like. And they're a little more picky on ebooks, I think, than they are on printed books. And I think it's because of the clickable nature of the ebooks.
Yeah, because you can just click on it. Yeah, exactly. And you can also put links to your other books in the back of your books too, to get them to go buy something else you created. Oh, you like this book, you're going to love this one, and get them to buy something else too. And Amazon loves that.
Yes, they do. They're all about send them back, right? Send them back to buy stuff.
Exactly. Amazon loves that.
They do. So they're not going to discourage you from doing things that it essentially builds their business as well as yours. So.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, they don't want you to put a link in your book that's going to pull up your website where they can buy the books directly from you instead of. Yeah, they're not going to like that. Don't do that.
No, but like buying the book back from Amazon, they're like, oh, okay.
They'll like that.
You're redirecting traffic to Amazon, which they're all about. Like if you bring any outside traffic, like your Facebook group, you're rewarded for that. Amazon loves outside traffic, and you get rewarded. Your whole pen name and your whole brand gets brought up by you bringing traffic.
Yeah, so definitely. That's another advantage of having your own website and your socials too, because anyone will click through to Amazon from your stuff. That's a big plus.
Yes, they love outside traffic, and they reward you for outside traffic because you put effort and they're willing to invest in you if you're willing to invest in them. And so it's a beneficial relationship. Well, any other tips?
Let's see. I think we've gone down most of the ones. I'm looking at my list here. I did a 10 tips. My Clubhouse on Tuesday was a 10 tips for creating successful books that will sell. And I think we've hit on every single one of the topics on that list already.
Yeah, and if you guys are on Clubhouse, Cindy is on Clubhouse. So you guys it's on Tuesdays at 10 Pacific, right?
Yeah, 10 Pacific.
10 Pacific on Tuesdays.
Yes, and you're coming on next Tuesday.
I am, which is the 16th. The 16th of March. Okay, yes. So whatever day this airs on.
So depending on when this airs, it might have been you were already on it.
Yeah, well, I'll try and get it up before that. But yeah, so you guys check out Clubhouse and check out Cindy's Clubhouse Club. Is that what they're called? I'm just on, so I'm new. It's called a club.
My club is Aududu Book Creator is the name of my club. And so all of my chats, my rooms is what they call it, will be under the Aududu Book Creator Club. So
Okay.
if you can actually search for clubs as well as people's and topics. So if you just search KDP or low content books, you should be able to find me really easily.
Okay,
Either one
great.
of
Yeah.
those. And my club.
Yeah, I've just started Clubhouse, so I'm a little I'm a newbie. I can, know enough to be dangerous, but that's about it. That's totally it.
It's a lot of fun and highly addictive. So I have to limit myself to it and turn it off, because you could sit there and just listen in on rooms all day long.
Yeah,
All day
24
long.
hours a day. I know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Cindy. It was so much fun to have you. And you guys got some really great gems today. So I hope you take this all to heart. And if you guys want to see about aududu.com, or you want to check that out, I have links in the show notes, so you don't have to learn how to spell that or anything. You can just click on the link and go and check it out. She has a really great group. I'm in her Facebook group, and I learn stuff all the time. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun talking with you.
All right. All right, everybody. I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
I got to figure out how to end, but luckily I can edit this part out. I can never